Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group has been helping families here in the Huntsville area plan for a successful retirement. Chris strives to understand all of your financial needs to help guide you on the path to your retirement goals, creating income in retirement, maximizing your savings, and minimizing taxes. Chris has the strategies you need to help you sustain a successful retirement. Welcome to the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
It's a lot easier to get a job done if you have the right tools. And the financial tools you need for retirement are a little different from what you use during your working years. So we want to help you pack your retirement toolkit. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace of WG Financial Group. Chris, have you ever tried to do a project around the house and you didn't have the right tools to finish?
It's happened many times, and it's incredibly frustrating to me. I can't stand to sit down and do a project and then realize I don't have all of the tools to actually finish the project.
Then you have to get up and go buy everything and then come back
or call backup.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that's what I end up doing. I don't like house projects. I can do certain things. Certain things I can do well. Certain things I can't do at all. And usually I'm calling it what I call a rent-a-husband.
A friend.
A friend, or really my father-in-law who will come in and kind of help do some things when he's in town. It's not that I can't do it. It frustrates me sometimes. It's not what I do well. Let's just put it that way.
Right. That's okay. That's this is what you do well.
Correct.
This is your job. Stick to this. Your day job.
Know your role, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Stay in your lane.
If we were to do a Google search on the internet to find out, the tools that we need for retirement, there would be so much information. I think it would generate like millions of results. Okay. So then we'd have to sort through all that information. Now, I will say there is one retirement toolkit from the federal government that says or offers resources for Social Security, resources for Medicare, and then it tells you, you need to have some type of a retirement savings plan. So I bet you would say something's missing from that list. What would you say?
So did you say the federal government is giving us a list of things to help us? Oh boy.
Can you imagine?
Yeah, only, and I'll just stop there. But,
okay.
So think about it like this. You've gone out and you've purchased this item. We talked about doing projects around the house. Let's just say you've bought like an entertainment center or something like that. Have you ever taken it home and spread it all out and you're like, oh my goodness, there's millions of pieces here. Just millions and millions of pieces.
And then you have to get out the directions.
Right, which men don't typically do.
Or
we
not.
don't need
Or
directions.
not.
Yeah, we don't need any directions. But you get the directions and then it's still kind of vague. I mean, sometimes it's still kind of vague.
It's hard to follow, yeah.
That's kind of what this list is. So they give you a whole bunch of parts and pieces. They just don't tell you how they fit together and how to do it efficiently. So that's one thing. There's no directions on, well, you should really think about this. They just give you a list of things, right? So I think what's missing is a strategy to implement all of those together. And you and I have talked on shows before about the Rubik's Cube, right? The retirement Rubik's Cube. So, you turn that Rubik's Cube and you're impacting other colors on the other side that you can't see. That's kind of like retirement. Like you may take a distribution out of an IRA or a 401k, and you may go over what they call the IRMAA limits, where your adjusted gross income is high or too high, and then you're going to pay increased Medicare premiums. You're going to pay increased Part D premiums. And that's the problem, is they don't tell you how to do things in an efficient manner. And I think that's where a retirement planner comes into play, somebody that you can sit down with, a professional that can kind of walk you through, hey, if we do this, then this is going to happen. And that person can kind of help you put those pieces together. I know that's what we typically do at the office. We talk about that whole landscape, all of those different types of tools, and how to most efficiently use them.
Right, because we don't know what we don't know. We need to have that guidance from somebody like you, a professional retirement planner. So you have basically a retirement toolkit. It's not like you're wearing a tool belt around the office all day long, but you do have a type of retirement toolkit. So tell us what goes into that retirement toolkit.
Yes, so in our retirement toolkit, you have retirement income. So your income is going to be really important in retirement, how you're going to generate income. What are the tools within that retirement income? So that could be Social Security, that could be pensions, that could be annuities, that could be stocks, bonds, what have you. There can be a multitude of different types of tools to generate income. And then we have our investments and how they should be structured. That should be part of your retirement toolkit. And this is where I think the federal government list leaves out some things, is that whole T for taxes, right? So how do I take money out of here, and where's the best place to take money from? And should I defer this? Should I Roth this? I mean, there's so many different things we can take a look at. And then, of course, the estate planning, the legacy planning side of things, how things are sitting today, how they're going to transfer, to our heirs in retirement. That's also important to a lot of families. Some families don't care, as we've talked about on other shows before.
Yeah.
But some families really want things to go through efficiently, and they want their heirs to inherit things in a tax-efficient manner.
So why don't you tell us how you help people match up the right tools for the job that you're trying to help them get done with their money?
Yeah, so first of all, I think what most planners do is we offer a complimentary discovery session where someone comes in and we actually have conversations centered around their retirement, all of the goals that they want to get accomplished in retirement. They want to, maybe travel, or maybe they want to just spend money on their grandkids. There's a whole multitude of things that families want to do with their money. And I think sitting down in that, what we call a discovery session, and hearing all of the things that they want to do in retirement, that will enable us to be able to better plan for their family. It will also determine which tools might be necessary to help them achieve their goals in the most efficient manner possible. So just starting that conversation and then moving into more of a strategy. Okay, here's all of the things that we want to do in retirement. We want to travel. We want to spend time with grandkids. We want to leave money as a legacy. Okay, what does it take for us to be able to do that? Okay, it's going to take these types of tools, building out your plan, helping you design and put together, like I said, that entertainment center, so to speak, your retirement plan. And that way it's built in an efficient manner to get you through those goals that you're trying to achieve.
What are some of the tools then for generating income in retirement?
Yeah, so we've talked about Social Security a lot on the shows before. There are pensions. A lot of families, they don't have pensions anymore, especially if you're newer to the workforce, or maybe your pension got phased out right before you got, past that limit or got hired in or whatever. You've got dividend stocks that can be income generating, but you got to be careful there because dividends can change. Companies can reduce or eliminate dividends.
Can't count on it.
Correct. You've got, bonds, individual bonds and things of that nature. If you have bonds and then they're called, and then that could be a problem. So it may be paying one interest rate today, but if it gets called, could switch on you. And then you have annuities, and a lot of people tend to kind of wince up a little bit when you talk about annuities, but they do provide income, and that's an important feature of an annuity. It does provide income into a household. So I take, for example, my father, who was kind of forced into retirement at a young age. We were concerned about the longevity of his plan because he was forced into retirement at age 60. So what we ended up doing as part of his plan was we added an annuity to provide income for he and my stepmom. And what that did for them was that just helped increase the guaranteed portion of income throughout their retirement, which again takes a little bit of stress off the investments.
Right, and everybody's different. Everybody's got a different story to tell. So it just depends on, what you do for them, that individual person. So we're just getting started. We're going to dive into more of this coming up after the break.
You have a club for every scenario. A driver for the long holes. Wedges to get you over the hazards. And a putter for when you need a touch of finesse. What about your retirement? Will you have enough to play the back nine? Call to set your 15-minute phone visit today and let's find out. Get a second set of eyes on your retirement plan.
There are some things you can't avoid, but you can avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. You may think your taxes will go down in retirement, but that's not always true. In fact, sometimes your tax liability could go up. We're offering a free guide to show how you may be able to pay fewer taxes in retirement. Learn how different retirement accounts are taxed and options to help make your retirement income more tax efficient, all in easy-to-understand terms. Download this free tax guide now to help keep what's yours and avoid overpaying taxes in retirement.
You're watching the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
Welcome back to the Rocket City Retirement Show. I'm Lou Ann Fulmer, and joining me today is Chris Wallace with WG Financial Group. There are thousands of different financial tools out there, so it seems like there should be a solution for about every problem. But sometimes we have an emotional reaction to certain tools or products. We reject them based on what we've heard or maybe just what we assume. So, how could that be a dangerous line of thinking, Chris?
Yeah, it's a really good point, actually, right there. There is a lot of like emotion when it comes to money. A lot of it has to do with how we're raised or just personal beliefs and our biases that we have as people. And I think sometimes you're right. I mean, you mentioned that there's certain products or maybe financial strategies that people are like, oh, I'm not doing that because, so and so said it was wrong. And there's a lot of famous people on the radio and TV that say, oh, I don't like certain things. And then so all of a sudden now you're like, oh, they think like I do. And wow, I guess I don't like it either. And then all of a sudden that is confirmation bias in a sense. So I think it's difficult as you go through retirement. So as you get into that retirement and the flow of income stops, and then you realize, you say, hey, well, this is all that I have. This nest egg, this is it, and it's got to last. So then the whole emotional thing really starts to kick in. And I think it can be really dangerous if you make decisions based on emotions alone. I definitely think there's a strong play for data. You got to listen to your emotions. I'm not telling you to completely ignore that. But what I am saying is that developing a relationship with a financial professional and someone that can kind of help show you the other side of the fence, if you will, so that it can kind of offset some of that emotions that you may be experiencing, because you may end up hurting yourself not really knowing that you're hurting yourself. So sometimes that advisor can kind of, in a sense, help protect yourself from making a bad decision.
Yeah,
right?
kind of be your guardrails, right?
Yes, and again, I'm not, you need to listen to your emotions, listen to your gut, things like that. But I have seen situations, Luann, where it is completely damaging to the plan, certain decisions that are being made and some of the things that I've reviewed before. So it is important to hear the other side of the story, develop that trusting relationship with whomever. If it's us, fantastic. I mean, we'd love to have people come in and talk about their retirement plan, but at least get second opinions and really try to balance out some of that emotion.
Chris, I've heard a lot about life insurance being used in retirement, for retirement. So tell us how life insurance could fit into your retirement toolkit.
Yeah, so I know there's a lot of stuff out there today about using life insurance as income streams and such, and we're just not believers in that. So I'm a strong believer that life insurance is to cover risk, and you're basically going to transfer that risk to the insurance company. So I'll make a couple of examples here. It's not a cardinal sin to have your house not paid off in retirement, but if you don't have it paid off, sometimes there might be a need for life insurance, because if you pass away, maybe you leave that house payment to the spouse. Well, in order to really cover that risk of leaving that payment to the spouse on a single income at that point, where he or she may not be able to pay that payment, you might consider a life insurance policy to cover that risk. So remember, it's transferring risk. You're transferring the risk of you dying away from you to the insurance company. And in a nutshell, that's what insurance is. It's in its most basic form, it's called transfer of risk. So in our planning, that's typically how we're using life insurance. We use a lot of term life insurance for risk coverage for a period of time. And then also there is the play for legacy. There are some families that have come into the office before and they'll say things like this: hey, Chris, I want to spend every dime that I own and that I have today, and when I pass away, I want my last check to bounce. And I'm being a little bit sarcastic there, but they want to spend, and they want to know that they have the latitude to spend as much as they can in retirement, so they will buy a second and last to die or a joint and last to die life insurance policy, so that if they spend all of their assets, they still have a life insurance policy going to the kids if they pass away. So it can be used in a couple different ways in our planning process. It's really up to the family and their goals and the things that they want to try to achieve in their retirement.
So what are some tools then that we could use to help with the high cost of health care in retirement? I know there's several out there. We talk about them a lot on our radio show.
Yeah, so let's just break it down into two categories here. We've got health care, which is going to the doctor, medicines, things like that. Then you have long-term care. So let's address health care first. So when you turn 65, most people are going to sign up for Medicare A. If you're still working, you'll probably sign up for A, unless you're contributing to an HSA, and that's a whole nother conversation. But let's just assume that people are retired and they're going to sign up for A and B. So Medicare A is free. It's B that ends up costing you money. Now, a lot of families will end up pairing with Part B what's called a Medicare supplement. Medicare supplement offers a wide range of coverage. We think that they're, great for a lot of families that can afford those types of plans. And then if you have a Medicare supplement, you're going to also have to get a Part D prescription plan. So I remember, to help people remember, Part D for drugs.
Drugs,
right?
yes,
Just kind of,
very
even
easy.
even you knew
Yep,
that, right?
yep.
So Part D for drugs. So you're going to have those two. And what you're going to want to do every couple of years is you're going to want to review those plans to make sure that they're still giving you the coverage you're looking for. And at times, you may even be able to save a little bit of money. So I'll give you an example. A Medicare supplement does not fall under the open enrollment guidelines. So that time in the fall when you can choose that new health plan, you can choose and change a Medicare supplement at any time during the year. That's important to know, because as that price increase starts to go up, you can get with your agent, you can come into our office, and we'll review that for you and tell you if there's an opportunity to change that Medicare supplement maybe to a cheaper plan. Now, you'll still have the same coverage, you'll just be with a different carrier, and you'll probably have to answer some health questions at that point. The Part D prescription plan falls under the open enrollment or the annual election period guidelines, the time in the fall again. So review that, and is it still covering everything? Can I get a lesser cost plan? It's why it's important to review this stuff, because that way you can kind of control, to a certain degree, some of the healthcare costs that you're going to incur in retirement. Now, let's flip to long-term care. That is when you start down the path of, in a lot of cases, no return. So you're going to end up needing assistance with daily activities. And for the most part, care starts in the home. That's where it typically starts. No one wants to go to a nursing home. You've probably been to those places.
My parents, everybody in my family,
Yeah, my grandparents as well. It's not a place where most people want to go. So care is going to start in the home. 70% of us are going to need some level of care in our retirement. So that is where you want to have some sort of a long-term care policy in place. There are different types of policies out there today that give you a wide range of coverage. And there's 2 or 3 that I'm thinking of just right off the top of my head that are out there that are useful. And also, if you pass away with those, the death benefit goes to your beneficiaries. So that's worth a conversation. Don't just rule it out as, oh, it's expensive, and if I don't use it and I die with it, the insurance company keeps my money. Go and sit down with somebody like us, come into our office, have that conversation, know where your options are, so you at least know that you've had a conversation, you can make an informed decision.
Right, have it all planned out beforehand.
Sure.
You don't want to do that at the last minute. So, gosh, great tips again. Thank you so much, Chris. Love your insights, your experience. Here's how you can reach Chris Wallace of WG Financial Group to start packing your retirement toolkit. We'll be right back with more of the Rocket City Retirement Show and Chris Wallace.
There are some things you can't avoid, but you can avoid overpaying taxes in retirement. You may think your taxes will go down in retirement, but that's not always true. In fact, sometimes your tax liability could go up. We're offering a free guide to show how you may be able to pay fewer taxes in retirement. Learn how different retirement accounts are taxed and options to help make your retirement income more tax efficient, all in easy to understand terms. Download this free tax guide now to help keep what's yours and avoid overpaying taxes in retirement.
You're watching the Rocket City Retirement Show with Chris Wallace.
We've come to the time in our show where we're going to get to some of the questions that you have for Chris today. So you ready to get started, Chris?
Absolutely.
We love this part, don't we? Okay, so here's one from Barb in Harvest. She says, I'm retiring in 6 years, and I feel that I need to find an advisor to help me make decisions regarding my retirement accounts. What questions should I be asking when interviewing a financial advisor?
Wow, this is a really good question. So I'm surprised Barb hasn't gone to Google and actually Googled that. So there's lots of questions out there that you can ask a financial advisor. So congratulations, you're inside what we call the red zone. If you look at it from a sports analogy, you're near the goal line. We don't want to fumble. So as you're working with a financial advisor, I think it's important. One of the most important questions is asking them how they're paid. I think as a consumer, you want to know that. You want to know how the person you're going to be working with is paid. That way you can kind of make decisions, if they're doing things in your best interest or not. And so I think that's important. That's a really important question to ask. Secondly, is you want to ask how they're credentialed. Like, I'm in favor of the certified financial planner designation. I am, a certified financial planner professional. I think that's important. That illustrates that I've been through a lot of coursework, training, had to pass a pretty rigorous test to have that designation. So obviously I have a bias towards certified financial planners. And so I think that would be important. I think as you're working with someone, you want to work with someone who also has a focus in retirement. So as a CFP, I still have a focus in retirement. The majority of our clients are pre-retirees, right in the age of our listener right there, our viewer. And I think it's important that you work with someone that kind of leans towards that, area of focus in retirement.
Okay, so make sure that advisor focuses on retirement. Now, the part about asking about the fees, that would maybe make some people a little comfortable. Like when I go into a store, if it's a very nice store, I'm kind of embarrassed when I look at the price tag and I know the people working there are watching me like, oh, she, probably can't afford it or whatever.
Yeah, it's important to ask that question. A lot of times the advisor should just kind of come right out and tell you. That's what we do at the office. We just kind of disclose how we're paid, and I think that's important. But don't be afraid to ask that question. It's an important question to ask, and I'll tell you the truth. I've been asked a lot of times, when maybe I haven't brought it up at the certain time or whatever during a meeting. And so I've been asked, well, how much do you charge? And I'll ask them, well, how much are you paying currently with your current advisor? Because most people that come in already have an advisor. And the answer usually is, well, I actually don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. So don't be afraid to ask those questions. Again, that's something we do disclose, but if somebody beats me to the punch, I've heard that, well, how much do you charge? And I'll say, well, how much are you paying currently? And like I said, a lot of times they don't have any idea.
Right, okay, good. All right, here's a question from Gary in Athens. He says, I am 50 years old and I would only like to work for about another 10 years. What would you recommend I do in regard to my investments over the next decade so that I'm adequately prepared to retire?
Yeah, another really good question. So kudos to Gary for looking 10 years out and not waiting until he's 58, saying he wants to retire at 60. That creates another problem because now the goal line is right there. So now we got a little bit of distance between where we are today and when we're going to retire. So right off the bat, it's a great time to start planning. I think you can sit down with someone like us and determine what do you need to do. I don't know what to tell Gary to do today with his investment because I simply don't have enough information. So I don't know what Gary's other sources of income he has coming in. He may have rental properties. What's he want to do in terms of Social Security claiming? I don't know if Gary has a pension. I don't know how much he has saved for retirement at this point. But what I can say is 50 is a good time if you've got outside assets and IRAs and other places and you want to really formulate that strategy to get you to the finish line. I think it's a great time to sit down with a planner and identify ways to get to the finish line. I will say that as you get closer to retirement, most people will want to glide into retirement on a little bit less risk. And maybe that might mean reducing equity exposure, but he may already be there. I really don't know. I don't have enough information, but maybe Gary will call us and I'll see Gary soon.
I was just going to say, Gary, you need to call, Phone number's right there on our screen. Here's a question from Joni in Madison, and she says, I'm 58, my husband is 60. We are currently shopping long-term care insurance, but really struggling if it's something that we really need or can afford to purchase. What's your opinion?
Yeah, it's also a great time to be searching it at this point because it's only going to become more pricey as they age. So I think they're doing the right thing. One of the considerations that we offer to the families that we sit down with, there are joint policies available today where you could have both a husband and wife on the same policy. That sometimes can make it a little bit more cost efficient, but make no mistake about it, it is expensive. I think a lot of families are going to need it. It's definitely worth taking a look at. Whether you decide to go that route or not is a personal opinion and a personal decision. But I think having that conversation with a financial planner, understanding all of the long-term care options that are out there, not just one, not just two, what are all of my options so I can make a decision on if I want to go that road, which is self-pay, and you're going to risk your entire nest egg and hope that one or both of you don't need it. And if you don't, then of course, hey, I made it out. But 70% of people, according to studies out there today, are going to need some level of care. So at least have the conversation is my advice there.
And I'm thinking here, they're about the right age Isn't that right? But you should start looking and planning for long-term care insurance if you're going to, or planning for long-term care.
Honestly, I would be looking at it earlier nowadays because of the cost. And the quicker you can lock in something at a cheaper rate, I think there's been a lot of famous people on the radio say that 60 is kind of that target age.
Right. That's
I completely disagree with that because I quote this stuff all the time, and I think people should start looking at it earlier in their early to mid 50s, to be honest with you.
All right. Very good. All right. Another question for you. Lynn in Decatur says, my wife is a nurse for a local doctor's office, and I work for a large construction company. I'm 62, she's 57. When do you think we should start drawing Social Security? I'm eligible now, but I'm not sure if it's the right time for me to draw. I have a 401k, but my wife's employer doesn't offer one. I was thinking about taking my Social Security right now and saving that money since my wife doesn't really have any retirement savings. What do you think of that plan?
Yeah, so this is actually a really complex question. There's a lot going on in this question.
Yeah,
this
there's
is actually
a lot packed in there.
Yeah, this is like a question from the CFP exam.
Yeah.
There's multiple things here going on, and you have
okay.
to analyze this. So for starters, they need to talk to someone, whether that's us or someone else. They need to sit down with a planner so they can discuss it.
Yeah.
I'm going to hit a couple of high points here. Number one, I don't think you should collect. If he's still working, I don't think you should collect. I'm going to assume that maybe he has the higher income at this point, and if that's the case, then we definitely like the high income earner to wait until later, because at passing, that's what the surviving spouse is going to keep, so that's important. It's also important from a tax perspective to kind of wait on Social Security. If you're still working and decide to collect at 62, there's also an income threshold that you can't exceed, or they start penalizing you $1 for every $2. So there's a lot of different factors going on in this question. I would hope that he would give us a call and maybe set up an appointment so we could walk through the different scenarios, because this is not an easy, hey, here's your answer, do this.
Right, yeah.
I'm definitely not an advocate, and I'll just kind of close with this. I'm definitely not an advocate of taking it and saving it when you could continue to defer it and get guaranteed growth. So that's another aspect.
Okay, there you have it again. Insight from a person who does this every single day, working with retirees, and that's your passion. So thank you so much. If you have your own question, you can visit wgfinancialgroup.com, and we just might use one of your questions on a future show. Also, don't hesitate to act on any of the information that you've heard today. It never hurts to call, even if it's for a second opinion. Don't wait. Call now. For Chris and the team at WG Financial Group, I'm Lou Ann Fulmer. Have a great day and an even better retirement.